Good morning and welcome to session 2 of Iowa Ideas Conference. My name is Tom Banta and I will be your moderator today for our session on apprenticeships underneath the workforce development track. And so I will take a few moments today to introduce our panelists, but a little housekeeping. These sessions will be recorded and available for future viewing. They will also be offered in closed captioning if that's something you would like as well. But we will get into this. There will be audience participation. I'll start with a few questions to start the dialogue and the conversation, and then we'll look to you guys. So please enter your questions into the Q&A section, and as we move through our discussion, we'll do our best to incorporate those into it. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce our panelists and let them tell a little bit about themselves and who they're associated with. So let me get started, and I'll start with Jerry Orr.
Hi, my name is Jerry Orr. Yes, I work for Hawkeye Community College. I am the trade and industry coordinator there. So we do a lot of work in with apprenticeships. My particular area is in the trade and industry. So we've done a lot in with the trades as far as apprenticeships in plumbing, electrical, HVAC, carpentry. We are moving, doing some stuff, getting started in manufacturing now as well. So we have industrial maintenance mechanic apprenticeship, and our recent one that we're just getting started is a CNC machinist apprenticeship. So do a lot of work with apprenticeships. We have over 300 apprentices that come to Hawkeye for their training, and we work with probably 150 plus companies. So,
thank you, Jerry. Welcome. Tascha.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tascha Brown. I'm the Director of Career and Technical Education for Des Moines Public Schools. I also am the head learner for Central Campus, which is a career center. We serve all of Des Moines Public Schools and 22 surrounding school districts with students that come to our site for 30 unique career and technical education courses and opportunities. And we are currently the leading district for registered apprenticeships in the state of Iowa. Currently, we have food service, early childhood careers, nursing, CNA. We have registered apprenticeships in IT via cybersecurity, welding, variety of skilled trades programs. And we're getting ready to also go into manufacturing, as well as customer service with John Deere credit unions and some additional IT with some smaller IT companies here in the Des Moines metro area. Grateful to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks for taking the time, Tascha. Tim.
Hi, I'm Tim Ruth. I'm a partner of McCreedy-Ruth Construction. We're a custom home builder from Riverside, Iowa. I also serve as the chair of the Industry Advisory Board for the National Association of Home Builders and their student chapter. And I'm on the Industry Advisory Board at Kirkwood Community College. I was one of the fortunate, I was the first person to complete the apprenticeship for carpentry at the University of Iowa when they had that back in the 80s. So I know the value of an apprenticeship, and I also have been in the construction industry for 40 some years. So I know the value of a trained employee, and I know what value doing it right is. So thank you for allowing me to be part of this, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you, Tim. Kristine.
I'm Kristine Bullock. I'm the Director of Workplace Learning Connection, which is a department of Kirkwood Community College. We serve as one of the intermediaries that each of the community colleges has, and our role is to partner and make the connections between school districts and business and industry and be that one-stop shop for work-based learning experiences for 6 through 12 students. So each year, our great team of professionals that serve our 7-county area, we provide nearly 30,000 student work-based learning experiences, ranging from career speakers, industry tours, job shadows, internships, financial literacy, STEAM institutes, a whole variety of experiences to build that pipeline of students that have a lot of career exploration opportunities to help them decide what they're going to do after high school. So we have offices at each of the regional centers. And like I mentioned, our team works with all of the school districts in the Grantwood AEA area.
Welcome, Kristine. And GT.
I am GT Karr. I own Sueppel's Remodeling in Iowa City, Iowa. I have a background in obviously remodeling and residential construction. I am also privileged to serve as our chair for a vocational training council this year for the Greater Iowa City Home Builders Association. We've got a lot of good partnerships between Kirkwood Community College, the Iowa City school districts or other area school districts, and then our local home builder members. And I'm passionate about getting the trades and industrial technology back into our school district, and we've had some success at that.
Right. Thank you, GT. So let's dive in a little bit deeper here. And thank you all for taking the time today. I look forward to exploring your expertise further and really learning more about the role the apprenticeship program plays in our workforce and talent development pipelines, and just creating of skills to support industry here in the state of Iowa. And so, Jerry, I know you touched on a lot of the high level apprenticeship, but tell me a little bit about what is a registered apprenticeship? What does that consist of? And tell me just a little bit of a level set of what this program looks like across the state.
Sure. So, the apprenticeship model has been around for hundreds of years. It's been tried and true, so there's kind of the saying, earn while you learn, that matches up real well with the apprenticeship model. So it's really is just a workforce strategy that employers can have to hire and retain employees. So really the apprenticeship model consists of kind of two sides. There's the on-the-job learning, and then there's also what we call RTI, which is related technical instruction. That is actually the classroom side of the apprenticeship. So depending on which occupation you are, the apprenticeship model can actually be at different lengths. So a lot of our trade apprenticeships are 4 years in length, where they have actually 8,000 hours of on-the-job learning. And then how Hawkeye Community College gets involved is we have classroom learning. Typically, we have like 4 levels of classroom learning that goes along with that on-the-job learning. So there is actually another type of apprenticeship, which is called competency-based. The ones that I have been speaking about are time-based. Like I said, they have an X amount of number of hours that the apprentice has to put in. But the competency-based is also another model that some occupations use, where you have a list of competencies that the apprentice has to become proficient in. And once they can do that, the employer can check that off, and they can complete the apprenticeship. It doesn't really matter how long, as long as they get become proficient at what the occupation they are the apprentice in. So all of our apprenticeships are registered with the Department of Labor. So when they complete the apprenticeship, they get a certificate of completion from the Department of Labor, which is a national recognized credential. So obviously we don't want anybody leaving Iowa, but if for some reason they would have to, that credential should be recognized in the whole United States. So that's kind of the overview of apprenticeship.
Thank you, Jerry. So there's a mix of classroom and field work involved. There's a domain around amount of hours spent, and then there's a delineation between competency-based and registered apprentice. I know that both you and Tascha named a number of different areas of focus. How many registered apprenticeships are currently recognized and active in the state of Iowa?
I don't know that number. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I do know that there's actually the Department of Labor has over 1,000 different occupations. Obviously, some of them aren't in Iowa. We don't build too many we don't have too many shipbuilder apprentices in Iowa. So, but yeah, there is over 1,000 that are recognized in the Department of Labor. So I'm not quite sure how many in Iowa though.
Okay. And one last piece of it, or two things here. What ages generally do these target? So is this targeting a specific age level? And then the second piece of that question is what's the difference between a registered apprenticeship and a pre-registered apprenticeship?
Okay, so I don't know that there's any age. Obviously, most of your apprentices are younger because they're just getting started in the occupation typically. But I've had apprentices, in the 50s. They're 50 years of age or older, so not really centered really on any specific age. But obviously, most of our apprentices are probably in their 20s. And then the pre-apprenticeship is it's actually the Department of Labor likes them to be hooked to a apprenticeship occupation. They aren't really hooked to a business. Typically, they're just some education. So we actually have worked with two different pre-apprenticeship programs. So we have the Waterloo Career Center, which has a pre-apprenticeship with us. We have aligned our curriculum with a couple of their occupations. So students going through their curriculum and completing their program, we actually give them some credit towards our classroom once if they are hired and become an apprentice. So the other pre-apprenticeship we have is what we call We Build Waterloo. It's kind of a neat program where we take individuals, put them into that program. It's a 12-week program where we introduce them to the construction trades. We partner with Habitat of Humanity, so they're actually out on the job building new homes, and that's been a good program for us. We have put people that coming out of that pre-apprenticeship into electrical, carpentry, plumbing, and HVAC. So it's just pre-apprenticeship is kind of letting people kind of test the waters, so to speak, and then if that's something that they think they would like, we find them apprenticeship that they can enter. The businesses like that pre-apprenticeship model as well, because if we can give credit to a student, obviously typically most of our businesses pay for the schooling, so that's a cost saving for them as well.
Got it. Let me shift over to Kristine, and Kristine, add some perspective from where you sit around workplace learning connections involvement in this and the pre-apprenticeship and the apprenticeship process.
And kind of how Jerry outlined, apprenticeships, the full apprenticeships really work best when the students are prepped for the experience through maybe a pre-apprenticeship, or like with our team through an internship, so that they know that it's something that they want to embark on, especially when you think of the number of hours that the students have to commit to the program. And that then you have businesses that are willing to learn with the students. So from our team, a little bit different from maybe the pre-apprenticeship, but kind of leading with some similar goals, is that we try and place students in internship programs, 45 to 90 hour internship programs across our region, to help them get that career exploration piece first before they would then embark on a full apprenticeship or pre-apprenticeship program. In our region specifically, Grant Wood AEA was awarded a regional health collaborative apprenticeship during this last round of grants that went out last spring. And so in that proposal, we're strategically working to have students participate in our programs of students doing a job shadow, doing an internship, tours with the businesses that are going to participate in the apprenticeship program, so that some of that legwork is done before students are asked to jump into a apprenticeship program like this one that would have 2,000 plus hours and courses. You want it to be a good fit for the employer, and you want it to be a good fit for the students. We have a number of our students who participate in job shadows or internships who go on for additional experiences with businesses. So it's also great for our businesses to get their feet wet too, and then take that next step of committing to hosting a student for an apprenticeship, because it can be a big leap for both sides, for the student and for the business. So really building that foundation for both is really critical. And so we have really had a long history in our region, and I think multiple regions across the state, as you're hearing today, of that it all comes down to collaborations, that you really can't have one school district doing it by themselves, one business doing it by themselves, but when you pull in resources from all, whether that's your community college, or that's the school district, or that's an industry association, or the businesses themselves, that it makes it a lot easier than each one inventing the wheel themselves or duplicate asks out there. Wouldn't it be very feasible? For example, any of our business partners here, if each district was asking them to start up something that was very similar, if we could try and do it together, especially in some of our smaller districts. So we really come from the perspective to kind of go back to your point of helping to build that foundation, so that then students have more likelihood of being successful, and it's a better fit for everybody all around.
That makes sense. Thank you, Kristine. Tascha, can you share a little bit more from the perspective of a central campus kind of career center at a K-12 institution, or inside that space? What does that look like for you, and how does this collaboration work in your world? And I think we got to remove your mute. I don't know. Are we going to be able to get her unmuted? While we work on that, let's switch gears a little bit and let's move to the employer perspective. So we talked a little bit about from the community college and the infrastructure in place, and Kristine talked about the importance. Oh, here's Tascha. She's live. So let's go back to Tascha. Here you go, Tascha.
Sorry, everybody. I am operating from my office in a school building, and we had a drill scheduled that I couldn't undo. So I apologize. So from the school perspective, in working with employers, first off, it's so exciting. Every single week, we have new connections being made with employers. There actually was an email that just came out from Sis Greer, who oversees like the high school registered apprenticeships. And there are 890 current registered apprenticeships in the state of Iowa, with 163 new apprenticeships being added in 2022. 204 of those 800 are specifically high school youth registered apprenticeship programs in the state. And Iowa is the leading state in the country for registered apprenticeships through all of these new initiatives. So it's really, really exciting to see that. So when that question came up, I was like, ooh, I think I saw an email on that. So I wanted to just share that out. So like I said, registered apprenticeships are just such a natural fit for people like us and Waterloo career centers, because I have a cybersecurity class, I have a culinary program, right? So that related technical and training instruction for the classroom setting, our students are already scheduled into. They've already expressed a desire into that. And so registered apprenticeship for high school students is really just a paid opportunity for them to get their foot in the door, make sure that this is what they want to do before they graduate high school. And I think that's the paradigm shift that is so exciting for those of us in the educational field, is that we're no longer in this era where we hand kids a diploma and say, hope you do great things. And then they go and explore, spend a lot of time, money, changing majors, deciding what their paths are after high school. And so that's really how we engage parents, that this isn't about shifting back to the paradigm where you're either college bound or you're vocational bound. It's college and career. And so, it's all about making sure that our students have really robust and rich opportunities before they graduate to know, what pathway am I going? Am I interested in this career? And is college still a required pathway to that? We know that in industries, especially IT is probably a great example, where the field of IT is so broad. that it's really hard to get what employers want and need from a 4-year program that might be focused on programming versus like network architecture, things like that. So for me, it's about making sure that a graduated high school student is equivalent to a student being set up to be in a career pathway that's going to guarantee them a family sustainable wage, access to healthcare and benefits, and opportunity for upward mobility. That's what a diploma should mean for our students. And so registered apprenticeships are such a key part of that, because we're getting kids college credit at the same time that they're earning credits towards their high school diploma, and they're getting industry recognized certifications. So for me, it's the bigger thing here is, yes, I want to support economic workforce development in the state of Iowa. I want our students to be able to stay in the great state and the Des Moines metro area and continue to serve our communities. But to me, it's about generational and situational poverty. And we've all seen that our communities being impacted by that in the pandemic. And I think getting kids access and inexpensive, low risk opportunities to make some really informed decisions with them and their families about what is their hopes, dreams, and aspirations beyond high school, and really making sure that that high school experience is serving the individual student in those pathways. So it's exciting work. I'm always happy to help talk to employers. I have a lot of RTIs already built out. We're happy to share all of those. If there's other, nonprofits on this call or other organizations that are wondering maybe how to tap in their districts wherever you're at in the state, please reach out. Nothing is proprietary to Des Moines Public Schools. I believe that rising tide floats all boats. And so the more people we have engaged in this work, the better it is for all of us. So I'm here to be a resource or support anybody with questions or needs.
Thank you, Tascha. Let's switch gears a little bit and hear from our employer side. And let's start with you, Tim. You've been extremely active in this space for a long time. You're a big proponent of it, and you have a good understanding of what success looks like. So share a little bit about your experience and why you're so passionate about this and some of the success you've seen.
Well, Tom, I graduated from college in 1993, and I was in my 30s. And at that point, you could already start to see that hiring future workforce was going to be a problem. And there just wasn't the people, And so I look back when I was an apprentice, I wanted to be a plasterer. That's what I really wanted to be. And I couldn't get in the plasterers apprentice training program because they didn't want to take any young people. Well, the plastering career is basically gone because they didn't want to take young people. And so when we look at that and bring it fast forward to today, we have been, since I got out of Kirkwood in 1993, hiring young people, putting them to work. I pride myself in the people that have worked for us that we have trained have become very successful builders, owners of companies that sell building materials, different things such as that. And as an employer, it's part of our responsibility to our community to give back and to employ our people in our community, and that's something we like to do. And in the past, we always had a couple high school kids working, maybe a couple college kids as interns. And it's gotten harder and harder because of the demand for the employees. We recently listened to one of the top economists in the country speak, and he said if every person that could work went to work, there'd still be 750,000 open jobs. And so that tells us that, we have to keep developing, we have to keep working and trying to find ways to train people. I've wanted my entire career to have a very good, very robust apprentice program for the home building industry. And it's hard to get going because people need the workers to work. They don't want to take the time to train, and that old vicious circle. And that's why GT we've become such good friends, because his passion and my passion are quite similar. And by getting the school districts involved, we're getting back to the idea of If we have student-built homes, we can train kids. And we want to take that one step farther. And I would like to see that student-built home program move over to the community college level, where we do something quite similar to what they're doing in Newton at the Homes for Iowans at the Newton prison, and build homes that can go into these communities and solve the affordable housing issue as well. So then it would be a full circle. The student could learn a trade, build something that is given back, and we go the full circle. And that's what I would really like to see. And as an employer that's winding down on my career, because I'm near retirement, I will still keep giving to the students and to the opportunities. I know Kristine over at Workplace Learning Connection, we host a job shadow. We had like 12 different high schools, kids come to our office because we're kind of unique. We're design build. So we have interior designers, we have home designers, we have project managers. They came, and we own a custom woodworking business. So they were able to come here for a part of a day and look at opportunities. One of those students recently was placed with one of our HBA members as an apprentice sheet metal worker. And so you see the complete circle then. And that makes it worth doing. Some days you wonder why you do it, but that makes it worth it.
Thank you, Tim. That is great. And you certainly touched on another issue that contributes to the challenges of our state and workforce and affordable housing. My guess is there's probably another one of those, another Iowa Ideas session on that. But GT, can you weigh in and share a little bit more about this? And specifically, the dynamic here and the importance of, even in our pre-call, we talked about this idea of collaboration and getting everybody on the same page, right? And you're a small business owner, so you're running a business and you're also taking time out of that because you see the importance of this talent pipeline. And so talk a little bit about that and how you balance it and how you justify saying, hey, I'm making a concerted effort to be a part of this, and I know I need to ensure I have talent in the future. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how that shows up for you?
Yeah, I don't know that my accountant would think I could justify it with the time, but yeah, to echo kind of what Tim says, I got involved in this as a small business owner through our Home Builders Association, and he made a comment to me several years ago that was something to the effect that nobody else is going to do this. You're a small employer. Nobody else is going to do this. The school districts are trying, with all due respect. The community colleges are trying, but they only can control half of that equation, and we're the other half. And kind of just watching Tim work his tail off, watching our membership struggle with trying to hire people, it just kind of came clear that this was the only way it was going to happen. And we got some traction locally. It's been hard. We are Greater Iowa City Home Builders Association. I'll get this wrong, but we've got Washington, Cedar, Iowa, Johnson County. Is that right, Tim? So we've got an urban area, a smaller urban area, and then surrounding areas. And we've had a lot of traction with getting kids involved in the trades in our peripheral counties, but we've had a tough time locally. And I think it goes back to what Tascha was saying, as more of an urban area, some of these kids are going to have different experiences, different stresses, trauma, probably going to be a little bit more abundant. And we've seen that as we do our outreach and as we're interviewing, when I have my employer hat on, as we're interviewing potential kids for internships or for jobs, we see it. And as you visit the high schools, visit the community colleges, you're seeing that, hey, it's great that we have students that are interested in this, but they're lacking a lot of real life experience and they need a lot of help to kind of get lifted up to get our workforce where we need to be. So that's how I've kind of looked at it. My wife's a teacher here in Iowa City, so I see the educator side of it. And I go back to what Tim said. We justify it as a business and myself because nobody else is going to do it. And Tim kind of inspired me to do that.
No, thank you, GT. And I'd really like Kristine and maybe Tascha to jump in and talk a little bit about, Kristine, what's that role you play with the GTs of the world and how do you, talk more about the intermediary and the importance of your role in this ecosystem?
But one of the challenges is, and Tascha probably knows this more than the rest of us, is the capacity of the teachers within the school. The counselors sometimes have a ratio of 500 kids for one counselor, since there's no limit in the state of Iowa. Teachers are teaching their coursework, and sometimes they're tied to a state test, and they have different pressures, and they're dealing with students that have, a counselor is not just dealing with the career exploration, they're dealing with the whole student and those things. So our team, when our department was started over 20 years ago, tried to be that one-stop shop of people that will do that work. We actually formally contract with all of our schools to provide these experiences so that the schools know they don't have to take on doing these work-based learning experiences for the students. And then for our businesses, we try, even though it's not a perfect system, we try to be that one stop of, Tim has come to us and we go to him, that we partner on an event where we brought in parents and students to explore their opportunities and the current jobs available to students for the upcoming summer, this past summer, with the businesses and the Home Builders Association for the job shadows and the internships, and try and build those connections so that we can lift up the capacity of the schools, but then lift up that the businesses don't have, a ton of people contacting them. And that still happens, but we try and coordinate as much as possible those efforts, because, I can't imagine how, if we didn't have an intermediary doing some of that, who would do it, and the equity of it. A big piece of us contracting with all the schools was to make sure that this school that has the parents that have, these types of jobs, that those students would get access to those types of careers, but another place that student doesn't have a parent in that industry or in that career, that they're just kind of out of luck because they don't have that take your child to work day type connection. So I think when you even look at equity, that having something that it's open to all to have those opportunities. And, Tascha, what you do of bringing multiple school districts into Central Campus, that's another way of getting groups to collaborate, so that it's not just where there's that one champion. And then if that one champion happens to leave, that it goes away. But we definitely appreciate our business partners, that we have quite a couple here on the call, that they put in a lot of time. And, I wish there was more time to even recognize how much they take out of their regular daytime job to support these opportunities for students.
Tascha, can you build on that a little bit? Maybe talk a little bit about, as Central Campus and kind of this career center, what would that ideal journey of the student look like in this ecosystem?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll talk about the student experience, but it obviously relates to the employers, and my panelists have done a great job of giving some ideas of, when we talk about work-based learning, to me, quality pre-apprenticeship and registered apprenticeship is that top level of work-based learning that I would love for all kids to have access to. Because like I said, they're getting high school credit. Chances are they're probably getting college credit, and they're working on their way towards an industry recognized certification. And they're getting money in their pockets, which is really, really important. So for us, our students, we like to offer programming. I'll take skilled trades. We have a survey of skilled trades for 9th and 10th graders. That has really boosted our numbers in our skilled trades academy, because students aren't making a decision to say, oh, I want to try carpentry. Now next year I want to do electrical. So they come to the survey class, and they actually rotate amongst all of the building trades for a year. And we give them some what I call low hanging fruit work-based learning. And that's where the employers come in. So for the employers on the call, we don't just jump into a registered apprenticeship. We can, some people have been ready to do that. Usually we start with, hey, a business reaches out and says, Olson Engineering down the road from us just came to our building 2 weeks ago. They said, we need land surveyors, we need this, we need that. And we've heard about this registered apprenticeship for Better Business Bureau. So we're like, just come in and talk to our kids about what you do in the engineering field. And they did that. And then the next step for them is that we're going to take kids that really were interested in what Olson Engineering had to say to Olson to now go talk and meet with those people. And so then what we do with the employers is we find out, what do the entrance exams look like? Usually there's like an oral interview that has to happen. So it's like, employers, will you come in and do like mock interviews with our kids. So when they're sitting in front of an apprenticeship through a union or a local contractor, we know that they're ready and that they've had some practice with that entrance exam and interview process. And so we try to do those things in our buildings with our students. We get our students engaged with those employers kind of on our turf in the building. And then we slowly graduate them towards doing more things with the employer. And then that's usually where those things are successful. They see, oh my gosh, kids actually are going to be interested in what we do. And then they're ready to start working with us in their HR departments to say, okay, what's an entry-level position? What's the occupation that we want to focus on? We build out the RTI. And then either later in the year or the second year that students come back to Central Campus, we've got them connected with those employers. Usually we try to identify students in their junior year. The spring of their junior year is when we have them interview with employers that maybe have anywhere from 1 to 4 spots open that they're willing to take on high school students in the apprenticeship. And then we actually have them work 40 hours a week in the summer. Then they, for their senior year, because of school, we back off anywhere from 15 to 20 hours a week, but they stay engaged. So then when they graduate, they got that certificate, they're well on their way, they're already connected with an employer. Like I said, family sustainable wage, benefits, healthcare, right? Opportunities for upward mobility. So it can start really small of just getting, employers' feet wet in a classroom, getting our kids to them, and then it kind of just builds from there. But the ultimate goal is to build out these relationships where employers are building. I will say that a huge challenge, we actually had some representatives here, Congresswoman Cindy Axne and the U.S. Department of Labor Secretary Marty Walsh were actually just here at Central Campus for a roundtable. And businesses are on board, schools are on board. We have these fabulous intermediary networks across the state supporting this work, but the insurance companies boot our kids out. So just in full transparency, insurance, especially in the trades area, it is a challenge, but we're just hammering our elected officials to say, this is our biggest barrier next to transportation. And so how do we ensure that companies are supported when their insurance companies say, you want to do what with a 16-year-old? No way. They're not willing to take on that risk. And so that's a current issue that I think Iowa can also be the leader in finding those solutions for other programs around the country.
Oh, thank you for that, Tascha. And maybe I'll toss it over to Jerry and or Tim and GT. In our pre-call, you guys talked about some models, and Jerry, I think maybe even touched on a couple, but where's this working well? And what is it that you believe is attributing to why it is so successful, even beyond some of the examples we've already shared? Jerry, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, so, well, some of our trades here in Iowa, require licensing. So that's a big help to HVAC, plumbing, electrical, to become that journey person here in Iowa and pass that test. They have to, one of the avenues is to go through the registered apprenticeship. So that helps our apprenticeship models, of course, but there's other ones that aren't really necessarily have to have that state license. We are right now we've started on a floor covering apprenticeship. We haven't got it going yet, but we're working on it. Businesses reached out to me where they're having trouble as well finding people. So it's always there's always those little niches that the floor covering person is just as important in building a new home as the electrician or the carpenter, so there's always a lot of the opportunities that we like to work with. We the challenges are to find the right curriculum and then obviously finding the people, the apprentices to go into that program. But all of our, the Waterloo Career Center, we try to put our businesses in touch with the students in that high school, whether we do career fairs or have them come in and do just a talk about their business. But it's, try to get that connection going. Obviously we give a list of all our companies that use Hawkeye for their classroom training. We make sure the students have a list of all them companies so they can reach out to. But we do all, in the end, we have our apprentices have to go out and apply for that a job and get it from that employer, because we feel like they are starting their adult part of their life, so it's good to for them to learn that interview process and application process as well.
Thank you, Jerry. Tim and GT, talk a little bit about your perspective as the employer and in where are we doing it well throughout the state? I know you guys have identified certain groups or organizations, and ultimately maybe share some success story or two from your own personal experience with apprenticeships and where that's led.
Go ahead, GT.
Well, I think I'm less knowledgeable about the entire state, but I think in our corner, the success stories have been the collaborative effort with meaningful partnerships with, the school districts, the trade organizations, home builders, et cetera, and the community colleges. And I think the takeaway that I'm hearing over and over again is, meaningful collaboration and making sure that we get some experiences with the students early on, frequently all the way through, because we've got very different students, and just, showing them whatever the career is, so we've had some elementary schools that we've gone to. We took a metal brake with our company, which at first glance sounds pretty dangerous. And you talk about insurance, but we coned it off, and we were able to, with first and second graders, bend shapes for them and kind of have that, those kids would have never even known what that is. And then as you get into middle school, junior high, getting some hands-on activities, whether it's a career fair or Build My Future event, we've had memberships, and Tim can speak on that. And then, so when the kids get into, the age where, hey, maybe they can drive and can go do some job shadowing and see what we're doing, they're not completely starting in the dark. Years ago, we've had kids interviewing for internships, with carpentry or in the programs, and they just didn't have any real experience. They never had the opportunity for that. And I think it's so important, if we're going to have these facilities like Kirkwood has and Waterloo and Des Moines have, that the more opportunity the kids have to learn early on and decide a track or which way they want to go. I don't want to say track. I think it's going to be better for everyone. So that's kind of been, in my opinion, with our involvement as a small time employer, just getting out there and having a chance to talk with the kids and explain what you do. I think it leads to respect for what we do as a career. I think it gets some kids thinking about their future, and just kind of plays a pretty important role in all this. Just lots of little interactions that the students can see.
Tim, anything to add to that?
Well, we started several years ago, the Home Builders Association, with a joint effort called the Clear Creek Amana STEM Center. It's a very brilliant colored building on the north side of their middle school campus. And we came together, we designed it. It was initially considered it was going to be a group of students designed a building, and then they decided, we handed it over to the school district who put it to their architect, and they said, we want something from every one of the 4 different groups. We had 180 kids started at Kinnick Stadium one morning, and we did that. Well, then we put it over, and then we turned around and we built it. We took a group of kids and we built it. And we built it right next to an addition that was going on in their high school. The funny thing is, the kids' building got done on time, the school did not. So it made the builders look really bad. So every time you wanted something, you had to have a little help from them. They didn't want to do it because we were making them look bad. But that was the beginning. We took a group of kids that knew nothing. We met, we designed a building, we built the building, and then the teacher that took it over was one of the most amazing teachers I've ever met. And she was STEM Teacher of the Year that year. And that was what started our campaign. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're doing. And that's what started all this. Iowa is probably I know for a fact, the only state that has a Build My Future in all but one of their home builders associations every year. I was instrumental in meeting and getting that portion of it going, funding from the National Housing Endowment. And that's what we have to keep doing. We have to keep building. We all have to work together. We need all our community colleges in Iowa to offer the same construction management carpentry type program so that it's uniform across the state. So kids in Sheraton, Iowa, in Red Oak, Iowa, that's where we want to draw these kids from, because there might not be as many jobs in that market. So maybe if they come up to Des Moines or come over to Iowa City, you know, we don't want to lose that student going down to Kansas City because they didn't have the opportunity to learn here. So we just have to keep working on it, make everything, you know, nothing would make me happier than if the state mandated a technical high school for available to every student in Iowa, that they could have that ability. You know, I know it'll never happen, but it would be so wonderful. And then the kids could have that opportunity.
No, thank you, Tim. You know, you know, and I want to touch on that in broadly, you know, one of the things that came up in our conversation earlier was the importance of getting connected to the parents. And, you know, I know you were passionate about that. Anything to talk about from that perspective? Certainly we have the student journey, we have the employer's perspective, but the important middle part of this is the parents, and any thoughts around the parent involvement and what that could and should look like.
If we don't get the parents to buy in, it's harder to get the kids to buy in. Earlier this year, we did a parent-student evening at the Kirkwood Regional Center in Coralville, and we had parents and the kids come together and answer questions. And it was so good because one of the students wanted to become an architect, and we were able to, you know, look at this. You know, the parents were able to say, oh, you know, this might be a really good idea. Or if they wanted to, you know, we have vast connections throughout the country on different education opportunities. And we have met people I serve on the student chapter board, and there are colleges all over the country that have amazing construction management type programs, architecture programs. So it's really broad, but it also opened the door to a young man who wanted, you know, he said, I really want to try this, but I don't know if I want to do this. So he joined our student remodel this last summer with the city of Kelowna. City of Kelowna, can't tell you how wonderful those folks are. They bought a house. We took a group of students, remodeled it. Industry, GT was there, I was there, Aaron McGlynn from Cabinet Works. We remodeled the house. We helped with what they couldn't do. They built a new garage. The house is sold for $180,000 to a first-time home buyer, and the kids learned. And our one of our wonderful students got a job with one of our employers out of the deal. The rest of them are still finishing up high school, and it's just an amazing thing. But if we don't get the parents to think that it's okay for my son to be a plumber, or my son to be a, you know, whatever, or my daughter, you know, try and tell a parent that your daughter is going to go be a heavy equipment operator. And they'll look at it and say, no. But the reality is that is definitely our next focus, is going after more women to get them into the industry, because historically they are better at a lot of things.
My wife reminds me of that often, Tim, and she's right.
Absolutely.
Tascha, do you want to add anything from a student perspective here? Or I mean, a parent's perspective? I'm sorry, just some of the stuff you guys do to try and connect with parents.
Yeah, I think, you know, we lovingly call this the College for All campaign in the K-12 sector. And my generation was part of that. That's how we identified success. And that's how parents had their parents identify success. Is if your kid goes to college, then you've done a really, really good job. And for high schools, that has been the narrative as well of, not just graduation rates, but how many kids are going to post-secondary institutions. The industry and these sectors have really changed that. And so it's really about, I look at it as our job specifically in the K-12 sector to engage our stakeholders, AKA parents, in visioning, like, what does success actually mean? What does a graduate from Des Moines Public Schools actually, what should that entail? And it is the parents that are saying, well, I don't want to feel bad if my kid doesn't want to go to college. I just need some reassurances that they're going to be okay. And so when we talk about, again, family sustainable wages and these things, but for the parents or for the students that are just like, I want my kid to have that college experience, great. Let's save you and them a heck of a lot of time and money by allowing them to come explore this on Des Moines Public Schools dime, right? So that they're making more informed decisions. Sometimes it's, hey, have your kid come here and at least say, whoa, I thought I wanted to do nursing or something in health sciences, but I really can't get down with bodily fluids. Like, wouldn't you rather have them figure that out in high school before you go and apply and get them involved in, a college pathway in health sciences? And so, we really do see that. But when we look at statistics of the amount of students, and I can speak for Des Moines, and it sounds like an ugly fact, but to me, it's an opportunity that less than 30% of the graduates within 6 years of completing Des Moines Public Schools in all school districts across the state have what's called a future ready profile, which is where this data lies. But less than 30% of our students, even though we're graduating above the state average, less than 30% are actually going on to finish a degree. But to me, the scarier part is that also includes in less than 30% are getting an industry recognized certification. And so when you think about the community impact of that, right, that paints a very bleak picture, but we're just being honest and transparent and saying, let's work together to change that. And so to me, it's just about informing parents on what they're doing. We do have to address those stigmas, like I said, of old vocational days that was for people who couldn't get into college. Like, that's not the case anymore. And, really it's about bottom dollar. Our two biggest commodities are time and money. And so when we paint that picture of why this is a value add, we've doubled our enrollment for this year in career and tech, because I think we've done a really good job of that. I will say though, that engaging parents looks very different for us than maybe ways that we've done it. We actually call it the boots on the ground campaign. And so we're finding out from our bus drivers, our transportation department, because they know where all the hubs are of kids. So we're going to the apartment complexes, right? And we're holding our Home Builders Association, our skilled trades advisory boards are going to the people in the community. We're going to congregations, mosques, different places. We have bilingual family liaisons that are talking to parents that have language barriers. And so we are also finding just unique ways to engage parents instead of just holding career fairs at sites that not everybody in our community has access to. And so we've really seen some success with thinking outside of the box. How do we go into our communities? How do we go to the parades? How do we go to the festivals, the Latino Heritage Festival, all of those things. And we're doing our information sharing in more authentic ways at the community level versus just, hey, you have to come to our institutions to learn about these cool opportunities.
Tascha, thank you for that. And really what jumps out to me is this notion that you're meeting people where they're at. And that's critically important, I think, especially as you talk about accessibility and equity. You need to go to those folks and meet them in their community. So I applaud you for that. We are at our 5-minute mark here. We have a couple questions that have come in. I would love to, one of those questions I think was around apprenticeships in the healthcare space. And so Kristine or others, but can anyone share a little perspective, and particularly in nursing? What does that landscape look like here? Give us 2 minutes or 1 minute kind of overview of apprenticeships in the nursing landscape as we see it, as they exist.
I know here in our region, we're just getting started on the CNA, and then pathway leading to nursing. So Tascha might have more experience in that space since we're just getting that launched.
Yeah. So we offer basic nurse aid and advanced nurse aid. And so the people that we have registered apprenticeships with, and we haven't formalized officially with, I think there's somebody maybe from Unity Point, but we just added Mercy One and Broadlawns here. And so really we just, they're getting their basic nurse aid with us. We need those sites and facilities to open up those hospitals and care facilities to our students that are in our nursing programs. And then again, it's just us working with HR to say, once they're certificated in their nursing, they've already met with human resources. Chances are they've already, as a student, are getting their clinical hours at a Unity Point, at a Mercy Care facility or a Broadlawns facility. And so they're already engaged on the front end through clinical requirements of the course. And then we just work with basically a registered apprenticeship is like an MOU of when they get this, they already have a place in employment with those organizations and hospitals and care facilities. The challenges is that Unity Point can only have so many, nursing, traditional nursing students and high school students. But yeah, CNA actually is probably the easiest registered apprenticeship to set up because of just the nature of how classroom clinical is already built in through the Department of Inspection and Appeals to get the licensure. So, yeah.
Thank you, Tascha. Go ahead, Jerry.
We actually do have a couple of healthcare apprenticeships here at Hawkeye. I know they've been hard to get off the ground because of multiple factors. One of the big ones is just the shortage of the people or the hospitals, and that to find people that will actually want to be on an apprenticeship. But I think we have to see. I don't like to talk a lot about it because we have another person that oversees that, but I think we also have a home health aide apprenticeship but we are definitely pursuing those areas.
Yeah, and I think across the state, both the trades as well as the nursing space are significantly challenged in attracting and retaining and developing talent. So 2 key areas. We are coming up to the end. I saw Aaron McNamara Ankeny had a hand up earlier. You may want to shoot a note with a question. If you have one, shoot that to the Q&A. There was one other question that came across around livable wage across the state of Iowa. Is anybody familiar on this panel with what that current livable wage is? And if not, I can give you anecdotal feedback, at least from the economic development perspective. If we work with our local housing trust and from a Johnson County perspective, these are round numbers, but roughly 80% of that AMI wage is just shy of $20 an hour, and that's the average medium income. And so when we think about livable wage in Johnson County, both at our organizational level and kind of more broadly, it's about $25 an hour, $24 to $25 an hour for a full-time employee to really have a livable wage. And that's just getting to that kind of 30% of your income for a home, I believe. So that's high-level anecdotal number, but I think that gives you a good idea. And Johnson County tends to be on the higher end of the house cost of living here in the state, but probably not too far off through some of these other growing communities. So we're into our final minute. I just want to thank everyone who's taken some time today to be part of this conversation. And I want to give each one of you guys a final shout out opportunity. 2 quick words. Tascha, go. What do you want people to leave with?
I just think that we talk about equity in education, and until our kids have access to sustainability, we're not doing our job. So thank you for partnering with us to make that better.
Jerry, quick shout.
Yes, well, I appreciate doing this today. I'm passionate about apprenticeships, so the more we can talk about it, I think the greater it is.
Thank you, Jerry. Kristine?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see that this is a next step for students as we build more experiences for them to get before they go on to college and have to make those decisions. And I think it's also great for parents that they can have these while they're in high school, so parents can get involved in that process too before students are just kind of shipped off and left to their own devices.
Tim?
We say with the National Association of Home Builders, we build the American dream. Building the American dream is a career. And I think that if every one of our kids saw building a home as a career, an opportunity, great, it's a great career. You can't go wrong. We have a young man, 22 years old, makes $28 an hour as an apprentice lineman. That is a success story. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Tim. GT, final word.
I would say parents, students, and employers getting involved. The school districts in a lot of areas and community colleges are doing their part, but we need to kind of make that final connection and do some meaningful stuff. So be creative and get involved.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. You guys do important work. Thank you for all you do, and enjoy the rest of your day. Appreciate you making some time.